Have you ever heard the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Well, what do you do when words do hurt you or bother you during a tabletop role-playing game? Today's episode will cover the two obstacles that can hurt your gaming group and two strategies you can use to set expectations and not take things personally. Welcome to Claim to Game, the podcast helping busy people master tabletop role-playing games one game at a time. I'm Clint.scheirer. I've been an educator for over 12 years and have helped gamers of all levels quickly grasp tabletop role-playing games so they can enjoy playing them to the fullest. Stay tuned so that you can make your claim to game. Hello and welcome back to episode 7, season 1 of Claim to Game, a predominantly educational fun podcast in which I am daring to coin the word fun-educational. It's like going to the Kennedy Space Center down in Cape Canaveral in Florida and finding that you aren't just going to learn about space for the day, but instead you're actually going to be launched into space for the day. Don't forget to put on that astronaut helmet, folks. It's like I always say, better to be safe than starry. All right. It's my belief that playing a game should be fun. Now, fun can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but here are 3 things that I feel are essential to having fun, at least for me, when playing a tabletop role-playing game. 1, you are interested or find the main concept of the game interesting. 2, you are able to be creative, problem solve, and collaborate with others. And 3, you enjoy the people you're playing with. Now, this third point here can be tricky. People are, well, they're people. And that means that we are complicated. We have emotions. We have complicated emotions. We have expectations of what we are looking to experience when we come to the gaming table. Throw in 2 or more people in a room, and instantly you have a cocktail for potential greatness and fun, or an awkward social encounter which drives people away, leaving them never to want to step foot into another tabletop role-playing game again. Let's look at an event from my past to highlight 2 obstacles that can cause dissension among players in a gaming group, and then we'll identify 2 tangible strategies you can use yourself to combat these obstacles, work through the differences, and to find the fun you and your fellow players desire. The first real serious game I ever played with an actual storyline and campaign was the D&D beginner's adventure Lost Mines of Phandelver. Going into this game, I had only played a quick one-shot adventure with my brother-in-law, where the expectation was, have fun and try anything out. Your imagination is the limit, with a few scattered rules in there. This group had roughly 4 to 5 players and 1 GM. All of us completely new to the hobby, all of us except for 1 player, went in with the same mentality as I had before. Have fun. Try anything out. Your imagination is the limit. And after we made some very unwise and tactically unsound decisions, which involved our party's halfling trying to be the frontline beefy fighter, we inevitably found ourselves in very poor shape. We were hurt. Some of our characters were near death and definitely far from achieving the goal of our mission. The 1 player who had played D&D before was clearly and understandably frustrated. He spoke up and made it very clear he felt we were playing this game wrong. He said, D&D is a group of adventurers working towards a common goal. Our actions should be working towards that goal, not against it. I can't speak for the other newbies, but I felt a little bit of shame. Playing the game wrong? I asked. I thought my imagination was the limit. Was there a right or wrong here? Our group dispersed that night and met up 1 month later. And the next time, we really did all die. All of our characters died. We call that a total party kill, or TPK, as we say in the business. Everyone died. I've shared this story in more detail back in episode 2. The same player who was upset before at our group's lack of tactical sound decision making, working towards a common goal, he spoke up again. And he was frustrated again and let the group know his displeasure. As someone who once again was following my imagination, I was left with the same impression. Clint, you are playing the game wrong and you need to shape up. Eventually, the group worked out these differences, but I would say the hard way and with some hurt feelings. Some folks ended up leaving the group altogether in the process. Looking back at this in hindsight, the two obstacles I see at work here are one, not having previously agreed upon expectations for the game that we were playing, and two, taking thoughts, opinions, and preferences too personally. So, what do you do? How do you counter these obstacles and cut them down before they raise their ugly Hydra heads? My recommendation is to one, have a session zero to set group expectations for your game before it even begins, and two, to practice the heads tails technique. Quick pause on the episode. Have you felt life is too crazy busy, that the tabletop role playing games you've always wanted to learn and play are passing you by? The Claim to Game podcast has one mission: helping busy people master tabletop role playing games one game at a time. If you are enjoying what you're hearing today, please share the Claim to Game podcast with others. Share it with at least one other person who you know listens to podcasts and who could benefit from what this show has to offer. This helps grow the show, spreads the message, and helps others learn new tabletop role-playing games. So don't forget, once you're finished listening today, remember to share the show. Thanks, and now back to the episode. A session zero is not a new concept of tabletop role-playing. It is a meeting that takes place prior to the first time playing the game. And a session zero can be in person, online. I've even handled it via email or text, depending on the complexity of the game that's being played. What takes place during the meeting? Well, it's a discussion of the expectations of what the players can expect to encounter during the game. Not specifics about the adventure that would be a spoiler alert to the story that's about to unfold, but instead you would talk about themes, setting, tone, the mood, and the sensitive or not so sensitive topics that could appear during the playing of the game. In some session zeros, I've even included character creation. Especially for new players, running a session zero can make the overwhelming experience of trying to make their character a little more fun and less confusing with others around to ask questions and spend time with. How could a session zero have helped my first real tabletop RPG? Well, it would have provided a chance to discuss the tone of the game. If our group of players could have clearly understood from the beginning that this game's main focus is for a group of adventurers to work together towards a common goal, it's okay to have some laughs, but we aren't just choosing crazy, goofy actions that could end up getting the entire party killed. If that had been made clear from the get-go, then I'm sure all the players would have fallen in with that tone. The player who spoke up in frustration had this expectation, while the rest of us had never jumped on that bandwagon. Now, session zero really only happens once, prior to the start of the game. The game for season one of Claim to Game, Goblin Quest, basically has session zero and gameplay built into the pre-game activities of the entire gaming experience. The intro to the setting of the Great Battle Camp, the NPCs you'll find there, the character creation, the quest creation, basically episodes 3, 4, and 6, of which we all covered, all of it screams, this is a silly game where all of your goblins will likely die. Do whatever you want because in the end, you probably won't even succeed. Have fun. With that expectation, I promise you, even the player who spoke up during my first D&D session would be jumping right into playing with the silly antics had he instead been playing Goblin Quest. He wouldn't need to speak up. He wouldn't need to be frustrated by the other player's reckless actions because it fits the tone of the game. The new players in my first game were playing D&D more like they were playing Goblin Quest, with maybe a little bit of fatal ineptitude up our sleeves. Okay, we know what we should have done. Set expectations with a session zero. But what if that doesn't happen? What if you are a player who was thrown into playing a game where expectations are all over the place, boundaries have not been set, and people are making both passive aggressive or just plain aggressive comments trying to control the game and get it to be what they want or to get it how they think it should be? It all starts with you. You cannot control other people. Did you know that? You just can't. You can try, but unless you have some real powerful spells up your sleeves, it ain't happening. The only player you truly have control over at the table is yourself. And with this in mind, I would like to suggest the heads tails technique. I learned about it from a TED Talk given by motivational speaker and communication coach Frederick Imbo. His talk is called How to Not Take Things Personally. I'll leave a link to the video in the show notes. It is fantastic. To summarize the key points of the video, imagine that you are holding a coin, or maybe a two-sided dice. Do they exist? One side of the coin is heads, and the other side of the coin is tails. First, I want you to imagine looking at the head side of the coin and say to yourself, it's not about me. Try to think of the perspective of the other player. Try to see their intention that their comment was coming from, whether the comment was passive aggressive or just plain aggressive. Make space for understanding and try to change your me to a we. This game is about everyone being able to work together to have a good time and to have fun. I'm going to apply that to my scenario. Let's fast forward to the point of the story after the player spoke with frustration, saying, "We were playing the game in a way that doesn't support the core function of D&D." Just a reminder, that was D&D is a group of adventurers working towards a common goal. Our actions should be working toward that goal, not against it. Okay, here I go. First, it's not about me. The other player's perspective is that we aren't achieving our goal. And in this player's definition of fun, this isn't fun to him by not achieving the goal. His intention is that he wants to get the group back on track with his version of fun. Why? Because he believes this will let everyone have more fun and enjoy the game as he believes it was designed to be played. Now, making the space for understanding here for this player, I can see this game is not just about me. It's not just about what I want, but to marry the ideas of what we all want in order to have fun with this unique group. And I can get behind this. Maybe I can talk to this guy after the game to see how I can still be fun and be goofy, but support the spirit of collaborative problem solving towards a common goal. Nice. This is some powerful self talk. And I wish that I would have had this mentality at the time in which I was playing. But don't forget the other side of the coin, the tails side. If side one didn't quite get you to where you needed to be, didn't quite mentally get you to where you were trying to go, take a look at the tail side of your imaginary coin and say to yourself, it is about me. It is about my insecurity. And part of me, I still have to come to terms with. Does it touch a raw nerve what this person is saying? And it feasts upon my fear of not being good enough, not being likable enough, just not being whatever enough. You fill in the blank. I'm going to apply this tails side of the coin to my scenario. This one's going to feel a little more sensitive for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. Here we go. First, it's about me. I want to be silly, goofy, and non-serious in this game because I'm afraid of taking it seriously, about caring and not being good at it or not having fun. I'm insecure in my ability to try this new thing. The other players saying out loud what I was already feeling. Maybe I'm missing the mark. Maybe I miss the mark. Maybe I'm no good. Maybe they don't want me to be a part of this group. Why should I even try? And then lastly, going into that fear, and this is the most important part, more than anything that we've said so far in this episode, regardless of how I feel about my insecurities, above all, the truth is, I keep my value as a person, even when people disagree with me, even when they don't like the way that I'm playing the game, even when they disagree with the decision I've made or didn't make, and like a crumpled up, dirty $20 bill, at the end of the day, I still have value. And this value, which is outside of myself and intrinsic to being human, is what gives me the right to keep coming back to the table, to keep playing the game. And that applies to tabletop role-playing games, and it applies to life. So to summarize, try to implement both strategies into your games that you run or games that you play. A session zero is an attempt to set healthy expectations from the beginning. The heads tails technique comes in handy in the moment when conflict may arise. Either way, you keep your value as a player and as a person. Don't take things personally. Take them with empathy and openness to understanding for yourself and also for other players. Join us next week. Yep, that's right. We are a weekly podcast now. Next week, we will continue our quest, Claiming Goblin Quest. We are going to go over exactly how to play this darn game. How do you begin? Who gets to take their turn first? Where does the dice rolling fit into all of this? What if my goblin succeeds? And what if my goblins all die, which is likely? Do you enjoy the Claim to Game podcast, but find it can get lost in the mix of notifications you get throughout the week? What if there was an effortless way to never miss another episode or important deets released ever again? Well, my friend, that's exactly what happens when you are a part of the Lounge. The Lounge is our podcast newsletter, ready and waiting for you to be a part of and enjoy. Go ahead and click on the link in the show notes to sign up today. It's time for you to relax and be in the know. And until the next time we make our claim to game, one game at a time.